So House of the Dragon Episode 5 features yet another Game of Thrones wedding. And if history in this universe has taught us anything, it's that when two people try to join together in unholy matrimony, shit will inevitably go sideways.
We're gonna die!
Before I get started, I'd like to kindly ask that you hit the like button, and please subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.
All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
So this week's episode begins with Daemon murdering his current wife. Presumably so he can free up some space on his roster, so he can have a much more profitable and frankly disgusting union with his niece. Daemon is just kind of in the background, looming at this point in the show. He's making little moves here and there and you can tell he's planning something. And you just keep waiting for him to strike, but it feels like he's playing the long game, which I can admire his patience in this matter.
Patience is a virtue.
A majority of this episode deals with secrets being revealed and how that complicates everything. I think the Queen is definitely the standout. This feels like her episode, which is kind of refreshing because to me she's kind of felt like a background character up until this point. Because she hears about the Plan BT, she unintentionally gets a confession out of Sir Criston about how he and Rhaenyra had a boom boom session one night. And you just get a sense that the Queen is starting to trust Rhaenyra less and less. Even more so knowing that Rhaenyra got her father basically removed from being the Hand.
Cancel that bitch!
So we kind of see the Queen in this episode come into her own character finally. And she starts to act a bit more defiant to her situation as well as her husband. Next we have Viserys going to propose a marriage between Rhaenyra and Lenore to help unify the Targaryen and Valyrian households. While there, Rhaenyra and Lenore basically come to an understanding that they will do what they have to do for the realm, essentially make heirs, but after that they're going to pretty much do whatever they want to do, because they obviously both have very separate desires. Lenore specifically, who is, let's just say, batting for the other team, but it's okay, Lord Careless, his father, is aware of his urges, and simply writes them off and says he'll grow out of it. Careful, Lord Careless, don't get cancelled. Problematic jokes should not go unpunished. Everyone get behind those keyboards and start making a difference. If not, you might be the next one to get cancelled. I did find this small exchange we have between Viserys and Careless to be kind of interesting, where they basically argue over who Rhaenyra's heir is going to be named after. It's kind of like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos coming together and arguing over whose family gets to take over the world.
We're doomed.
Poor Sir Criston wants Rhaenyra to run away with him, but she rejects him because of her duty to the crown. While they do make Sir Criston look a little bit like a stage 5 clinger here, this really didn't make Rhaenyra look good at all. It really came off like she is using him and she didn't really realize how much he needed this. Not just because she got him all in his feelings, but it was basically going to secure his future as well. Sir Criston wanted a little bit more than to just be friends with benefits. And I gotta be honest, I did feel for him in this episode.
Did you hear what I just said to you? Stage 5, virgin, clinger?
Viserys has become very ill and he's starting to question his own mortality as well as his reign. This again just feels like Viserys was never cut out for this job. He was never confident in his position, he actually cares about what other people think of him, and that's just not common for a ruler. So then we come to the royal wedding and there's a lot to unpack here. The Queen shows up late and she's visibly pissed off at everyone. Daemon shows up and makes everything uncomfortable, and at some point during the celebration, Lenore's gay lover confronts Sir Criston and he talks about protecting both of their secrets. And spoiler alert, this does not go over well at all.
Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now?
Right as Daemon is trying to convince Rhaenyra that this isn't really what she wants and not what's best for her, it's at this moment that Sir Criston basically goes apeshit and beats the gay lover to death. And he even punches Lenore at one point. Now I have to admit I was a bit thrown off by all of this, for a few reasons. Especially the aftermath, because I was a bit surprised that Sir Criston really wasn't held accountable for what he did. Regardless of him beating a man to death, he struck the future king. And I found it kind of weird that he was just allowed to walk away after that.
But why?
He's eventually shown alone and apparently contemplating suicide, and the Queen does stop him from doing so, but something just didn't quite line up for me here. I don't know if it was the chaotic nature in which they shot it, but everything just seemed a bit out of place to me. Apparently this brutal fight basically sped up the wedding process. So we're basically rushed through Rhaenyra and Lenore's wedding.
To you? Yes. To you?
Yes.
Good, you're married. Kiss her.
Where everyone reluctantly goes through their commitments, and Viserys collapses, presumably due to his illness. And then we have this shot of a rat drinking blood off the floor that was the result of the fight. This kind of felt like when they randomly inserted a CGI rat at the end of The Departed. It was kind of put there just in case you didn't get the very obvious message of the movie. It just seemed like a very odd, on-the-nose creative choice.
I got this rat, this annoying, eating fucking rat.
This episode does mark the end of certain actors playing certain roles, as we are going to be having a significant time jump in the next episode. And I honestly still don't know how I feel about that. If they don't execute it properly, it's going to make everything seem even more rushed, or even glossed over, so we'll have to wait and see how they actually do it. I felt like this episode was good, but it wasn't great. I think some of the attention to detail narratively is missing here. Things just felt a bit jumbled and a bit rushed at the end of the episode. I just prefer when my Game of Thrones takes its time a bit more.
That makes sense.
I get it, they're trying to cover a large time span here, and I'm still invested in the story, but I think they need to slow things down a little bit because this time jump structure is starting to negatively impact the story, in my opinion. And because of that, the switching of the actors feels like it's coming at the worst possible time. One final thing I'd like to address is when Jason Lannister takes this verbal swipe at Rhaenyra right before the wedding. He said something to the effect of, "This is why men go to war, because women would be late because they're never ready on time." Which is supposed to be insulting, but it is kind of funny and kind of true also. Rhaenyra wasn't very amused by it, she was actually visibly annoyed by it. All I'm saying is, my wife takes a long time to get ready sometimes. In the words of Ice Cube in 21 Jump Street, embrace your stereotypes, and don't take everything so seriously, Rhaenyra.
Sometimes I get angry. So suck a dick.
Y'all be cool. Right on.